So I may have a little bit of a problem. This isn't even half the controllers I own, by the way. There's a lot more in my closet, but I have a lot of controllers, and yet I still bought the Steam controller for some reason. I am definitely a sucker for Valve. I do like Valve. I think they're one of the few, for the most part, pro-consumer companies. I don't think they're the greatest on every front, but I think generally they're better than a lot of companies. So I wanted to get this controller, which was oddly sought by scalpers, even though I think any of these controllers do most of what it does. And that's kind of the whole reason why I'm making this video. I'm not so sure that this is worth the $100 price tag. I think it's a good controller, and I will get into what I like about it, but there's just like a lot of options. Like most of these, except for maybe the Switch 2, I'm not really sure. I've had problems connecting this to devices, but like everything else here is a perfectly good PC gaming controller. Like you could have any one of these and you'll have a good experience gaming. Even like Xbox controllers you can get for like $40 now. Some of these other ones are also pretty cheap. So I don't think this is the end all be all, but I still think it's neat. And so we'll see what I like about it, what I think could have been in here for the $100 price tag. But let's go with the first party controllers first. I'm running out of space here. There are too many controllers. So for the longest time, first party controllers were really only the good ones to get. You were just wasting your money spending it on any third party controllers. And so these are the ones that I got used to for the longest time. Not just these, but like for previous generation consoles, for instance. There's still a lot to like about them. This one is kind of like the tried and true classic at this point, like the Xbox controller, the Xbox One controller in this case, kind of mostly the same from the Xbox 360, a little refined, better triggers. Pretty decent overall. I like the D-pad on this. I know a lot of people don't, but I like the clickiness. This one is a little old. This one's my boyfriend's. It's a little used, but overall I think it's pretty solid. Definitely still a good choice. The core controller that they made for the series ones are pretty much the same. They just have like a shield style D-pad, kind of like the Elite controller. Overall pretty solid controller. And I like the Elite controller. Yes, I am a sucker and also bought one of these. You can tell it's like a little smudgy. It's very much a fingerprint magnet, but I like these a lot as well. Especially the first controllers that I can think of to have like a good amount of customizability. You can replace that with a normal cross style D-pad. You can replace the sticks, adjust the tension on them. These triggers, they are not only textured, the whole controller is textured actually, but you can also make them hair triggers. So if you flip this switch, you can make them go like just a short amount of distance and they activate instantly. You can also make them go half the distance. So pretty much the gold standard for customizability. They also have back paddles, which I think these were the first controllers I can think of to really adopt these. And also, one thing that I liked about these, and the main reason why I got this at the time 5 years ago, is because it came with a dock for charging just with it, the more expensive kind. So there are these like little pogo pins on it. You just kind of place it on the dock like this, and it magnetically attaches, and then it charges. And so yeah, it's really neat. It doesn't like connect to the computer via the dock, but it does charge. Don't have to wear out that USB port. Overall, like I really like this controller. The only real issue with these is that they're the potentiometer based joysticks, and these had problems of stick drift over time. Luckily this one has not started getting that issue yet, but I heard a lot of the Series 2 Elite controllers especially had that issue. Overall, I think this is a solid controller. Probably not worth the $150 price tag either that I paid for it. I think it was more before when I bought it. But still pretty solid controller overall. I would still use this if I didn't just have so many around. Too many controllers to really spread the love around. PlayStation's controllers I think have always been pretty solid too. I really like the DualShock 4. I kind of like had a gaming renaissance, I guess, after college, and PS4 was kind of what I mainly played. I really like this controller. The triggers are not the greatest. Nowadays, they kind of feel cheap and plasticky, but besides that, I think it's pretty solid. I like this controller a lot. I think it's one of the most comfortable controllers for me, personally. I like the matched grip, personally, because I play a lot of like 2D platformer games, so having this sort of thing is helpful for me, especially because I like Castlevania, for instance. I played Symphony of the Night for the first time on this controller, and it was a pretty good experience. DualSense is basically more of the same, a little different ergonomics. I know people dislike this. I'm fine with it myself, but it's more of the same. It does have those anti-friction rings, which the Elite controller has as well. You can see it as those like rings there and they put it in the DualSense. I think that makes using sticks much nicer, and the triggers are a lot nicer too. They're bigger and just feel less cheap. So overall, I like the DualSense. The big con with these Sony ones is that their battery life is absolute garbage. They last like 8 hours, I think, on a good day. These Microsoft ones are a little better. I don't remember how long these ones last, but AA batteries are a big con. These ones are rechargeable, the second series Elite, and I think it lasts like 40 hours. Overall, yeah, good controllers from Microsoft and PlayStation. Nintendo ones for the Switch and 1 and 2 have been pretty good as well. These two are basically the same, really. The only difference is the back paddles on the Switch 2 controller. But overall, these are pretty solid too. No real complaints about these. I like how meaty the buttons are on these. That was one thing I like. The only thing that really sucks about the One Pro controller is the D-pad is absolute garbage. You can just like press all 4 directions at once. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Lots of misinputs. From my experience, it's been way better on the Switch 2 Pro controller. I've had not really many issues. It's still not the best D-pad I've ever used, but it's good enough. I do wish these had analog triggers. They're still digital inputs, but they're good enough, whatever. So I think overall, first-party controllers are still pretty good, satisfying to use. All of these work on PC except for, I'm not sure about this one. I've had good experience using all 5 of these on PC. You just connect it. Steam works with it, even in Linux, so overall good experience. But these aren't the only good ones nowadays. Third-party controllers have gotten really good in the last few years, especially 8BitDo and GameSir. Those are the brands that I've been buying. Not that this is an endorsement of any specific brand, but I like those controllers a lot. Now, these are the reason why I think the whole is the Steam controller worth $100 thing really comes into play, because most of those first-party controllers for the current gen, they can be up to like $70 to $80, at least on the Sony and Nintendo side. These are a lot cheaper. So this is my first 8BitDo controller I ever got. It's the SN30 Pro Plus, and it's not the greatest controller. The D-pad can be a little mushy, but I paid like $40 for this. The triggers they're a little cheap, but they're not bad at all. I use this a lot to play like platformers, especially because the D-pad was a little mushy, so I wouldn't want to use it to play like fighting games or whatever. But like, left-right movement, totally fine. Sticks are good. It's like that matched grip, and it's in a pretty comfortable position. I really like this controller a lot. It's just the D-pad that's a pain, and they fixed it in the Pro 2 controller. And that is why I have the Pro 3 controller, because it's basically the exact same design. It's got the same like kind of triggers. They feel way better. It's got some extra buttons, but the D-pad is way better. It's got like a clicky micro switch D-pad. No real issues. I could play fighting games on this all day. And the buttons feel good too, like no issues at all. But this also added a few things. The Pro 2, they added some things, and they also made their way in here. Notably, back paddles were in the Pro 2, and this also has hair switch triggers, so you can swap those, and now it's a clicky micro switch. Once you switch them back, they're normal analog sticks. Once again, really solid controller. This one's on the pricier side. This one's $70, whereas the Pro 2, I think you can acquire it for like 50 some bucks. So even the Pro 2 nowadays is still pretty good. And the nice thing about both of these controllers is that they connect to PC and Android, either X input or D input. They connect to Switch, they connect to Mac. So like these are pretty good all-around gaming controllers if you don't need to play on a Sony or Microsoft console. This one is also another 8BitDo controller that I used for a while for PC. It's meant for Switch, but you can connect to it with PC. This one's an older one. This is their first Ultimate controller, but once again, super solid controller. Got the back paddles. One thing that I forgot to mention is that this has, I don't remember if it's Hall Effect or TMR joysticks, but it's Hall Effect in some way, using magnets. And the nice thing about that is that you don't really get stick drift. Whereas with these ones, they're using like the traditional potentiometer-based ones, and they can get stick drift over time. Luckily, these ones do not have that problem. But this one ideally never will. And on that note, this one also has Hall Effect joysticks, and this one's the GameSir Supernova. I really like this one. I've been using it for a while. The only real con is that like these sticks, they're textured, and I don't know if you can see, but like my skin's just getting stuck on there when I brush along it. But besides that, this is a really good controller. Once again, this has like the whole hair trigger thing. So right now I have it on hair trigger mode because I was using it to play Switch games. But you can switch them to be regular analog joysticks. It has the back paddles, Hall Effect joysticks, a really good D-pad. It's a rubber membrane one, so it's not clicky like the other one, but it's still really good. And this controller, when I bought it, was $50, and that is half the price of the Steam controller. So keep that in mind. Especially when you think about this controller, which I got when I was like staying at a friend's house. I had a surgery and I was gonna move, and then I ended up having to delay my move by a little bit, and I had all my stuff shipped across the country. And I was like, crap, I need a controller quickly to do some gaming. And this controller kind of came into play. It is wired only, which is a con, but First of all, I like the whole like, oh, this looks like a original PlayStation controller thing. It's got that aesthetic. It's got pretty decent triggers. They're a little shallow in travel, but they're still analog and not too bad. All the buttons feel pretty good. And the sticks are Hall effect sticks. And it also has back paddles. All this and this controller is $20 and often goes on sale even now for $15, even with the rising cost of everything. Granted, you have to deal with this, but it has all that stuff. It connects to Switch, PC, all that stuff at a really low price, way cheaper than any of these controllers, which is just kind of crazy to think. So the third-party controllerscape is really good now, and you can get controllers at a pretty decent price, way cheaper than the first-party stuff. So where does a Steam controller fit in with all of this? Because it's like twice the price of some of those controllers and kind of has a similar feature set. So let's go through what this has. Obviously, it is pretty similar to the Steam Deck. You can just kind of see that this is basically a Steam Deck kind of smushed down into a controller, which I think is good. It's to its benefit. I think that the Steam Deck is pretty comfy control-wise. It's got a pretty solid D-pad. I have no complaints. It's kind of similar to the GameSir Supernova's rubber membrane. The buttons are very similar. They are really tightly grouped together, which is fine for me. Some people dislike it, but I think overall this is good. It's got very similar sticks, except these ones are TMR joysticks. These ones are potentiometer based, so once again, limited chance of getting stick drift. The triggers and bumpers they're fine. The bumpers are pretty good. The triggers they're fine. They do the job. They're not too dissimilar from the Steam Deck ones, honestly. They don't have the option to like switch to hair trigger mode though. You can in Steam Input make it to where they activate as a hair trigger, but no actual hair trigger. You do have rear paddle buttons, which is good, and I think they're in a good position, at least for me, kind of where I hold my hand. They're right where my middle finger and ring finger are when I'm playing, so it's pretty comfortable overall. And it does include a dock, kind of. It's got like this little thing. That's one thing I forgot to mention about the third-party controllers, actually. All of those wireless ones, so the GameSir Supernova and the 8BitDo Pro 3 and the 8BitDo Ultimate, all of those came with docks as well. And one nice thing about them is that just like the Steam controller, these... whoops. Just like the Steam controller, they function as dongles, and actually all of these have dongles, so you can just use them without the dock anyway, but these do USB pass-through so that when you actually have this plugged in, you don't have to have a separate dongle to connect your controller to it, which is really neat. And that's one advantage of the Steam Puck as well, is that it's basically the same thing. It's a dongle to connect it over 2.4 gigahertz wireless and to charge. Unlike those docks, it is magnetically attached. So it's kind of similar to the Xbox one where it's a magnet that attaches it and then it just charges. I think this is really neat. I like this feature. But yeah, it's missing some of the things. It does have like touch pads like the Steam Deck. It has touch sensors, so when you put your thumbs on the sticks or if you like put your hand on the side, it does activate a special input in Steam. But that's pretty much it. That's kind of why I don't think this is really worth $100, because it's missing like the hair trigger thing, which I've started to really like, especially for when you're going in between Switch games or non-Switch games or games that just use digital input versus analog input. I think it's really nice to not have to like move it all the way down if you don't need to and get that tactile feedback. So why would you buy this? I think the answer is pretty simple. You really like what Valve has to offer, and so I'm a sucker, of course, but I do think it integrates nicely with Steam OS and Steam in general. If you use something like Steam OS on the Steam Deck or Bazite, I think this is where it really starts to shine. So you can connect it over Bluetooth with like if you hold right bumper and B in Steam, you can do it that way. I'm just going to do it over USB because it's easier. So first of all, just to show how the puck works, if you really just like move your controller over it, then it attaches and starts charging. You can see the light turned on, which is super neat. I think it's nice to just be able to not worry about how to position it in the dock. The 8BitDo ones are also good about that. They're specifically formed where you can just kind of plop it down. With the puck, you don't really have to worry about that at all. You just move it. Once I press this button, it should just automatically connect. You could keep it on the puck, but I'm not going to do that for now because it's charged. So yeah, the Steam input settings are where this is really going to shine, because there's a lot you can do in here, and I'm hardly the biggest expert on this, but all these touchpads, they're really good for customizing a bunch of stuff. So one thing that's nice is you can just kind of go in and look at people's layouts that they've made. This game doesn't have any, which is great. So we can see for Bloodstain, there's this community layout that lets you do a lot of like speedrunning tricks, which I'm not really sure what a lot of these do. I think this one does like a backdash and like instant crush, so you can just kind of like spam it. But that's one nice thing, is that you can just use people's community settings for games and just kind of apply them. So let's just apply this layout, go back, and then go in the game. All right, yeah, so now that we're in the game, we can mess with those things. So if we click that one back button, you can see it's doing the fast back hop that you would normally have to like manually do that for, which I'm not the greatest at. But with this, you can just kind of hold it, which is neat. I can't really tell what these other ones are for. Maybe this one's like a fast attack. I don't really speedrun this game, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's kind of neat, and you could even go further with this, because like this game, for instance, has a shortcut system where if you hold left trigger, then you can like move your stick and choose a shortcut. But we could kind of go further than that. So let's go back to the default layout. So here's really where like all the crazy customizations happen, is in here. You probably would need a degree to really understand everything, but there's some cool things you could do with like the touchpad, for instance. Like if you go down to trackpads, you can see they have a lot of stuff, like you can use it as a mouse, various different things. But one thing that I haven't really used a whole ton and I really want to use more, it's like these radial menus or touch menus, because you can kind of just like click a specific part of the touch wheel or, you know, move around, and then it's an easy shortcut to something. So in Bloodstained, for instance, we could kind of fake it to where we can like choose a shortcut based on which thing in the touch menu we use. So I'll just call this shortcuts. And this is kind of where you can go crazy. And I had to look this up to figure out how to do this, because I knew it was possible, but it's kind of janky, but still cool that you can even do this. So we have to change this first menu entry. We could do this for all the different menu entries, but I'm not going to do that because I'm too lazy to for the sake of this video. But we could say left trigger because that's the first input, then add an extra command that will be moving the left stick down. And then we'd want to do this for every single direction. Then add another command that is the A button press. Oh, whoops, that is not the A button. Now, like it is right now, it's just going to do all of these at once, and we don't want that. So the trick to do that is we want the left trigger to stay held down. So if we go into settings, we can set a fire end delay, let's just say 100 milliseconds. Then left stick down. We want this to press after we hold left trigger down, so we'll give it a start delay of a little bit later. And we want to hold it until we press A, so we'll give it like 75 milliseconds. Then the A button, we want to do it after we have both those held down, so we'll give it a delay of like 50 milliseconds, and it can just go right away. We're not worried about like when it ends. So then this should work just fine now if we go back into the game. So let's make sure I'm on a different shortcut set. So now if I go in that touch menu, you can see it like shows it. Then once I click it, there we go. Now we have a shortcut to just choose that one shortcut set, and then we could set options for like each of those, so we don't have to do the whole like, oh, this every single time. Another thing that I've seen that's a potentially interesting option is that you'll see these LG and RG inputs with the Steam controller. What that is like capacitive sensors, as far as I know, on the sides of the controller that sense when your hand is actually touching it, which I mentioned earlier. So I could use this, for example, like if we wanted to have it, I don't know, one example I've seen in some YouTubers' videos is like have it open the map when I'm like letting go of the controller. We could say like map it to the, I think it's select in Bloodstained. I don't actually remember. We could say select, but that only activates when we like press it. So we have to like invert it in that case. So if we go to invert input, then that should do it. So if we go back into the game, then we release it, now we can see the map, and then we can do it again. So this definitely has some trade-offs. You may not like this, you may like it. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to mess around with it more. But it's neat that you can do all this stuff that you can't do on normal controllers. So really, I think that's the big thing with this controller. Oh, it just detected it even though I didn't touch it, okay. But like if you want all these extra input things that you don't have on normal controllers, like trackpads, these little grip sensors, I think it's definitely worth trying out, as long as you're okay with the caveats that you don't have some of the extra features like hair trigger locks. You can only use it with Steam. You can't use it like on an Xbox or Switch or whatever, like those other third-party controllers. You're kind of locked into Steam. But if you can accept those, I think that this is a pretty good controller, all things considered. Like the sticks are good, they probably won't get stick drift. The buttons are good, they're a little close together, but I mean, if you like the Steam Deck's buttons, these are totally fine. The D-pad's good. The triggers, they're fine. They're not the greatest, but they're pretty equivalent to other controllers. Trackpads are pretty good, especially for home theater PC setups, because they do act like a mouse. So yeah, overall, I think this is a good controller. I just think the $100 price point is a little steep, especially considering some of the other controllers we looked at are like half the price. Like if you want a controller that has most of the features that this controller has at half the price, the GameSir Supernova is really good. I've been using this. It has Hall effect triggers. It's not TMR, so it's a little higher powered. This controller still lasts a long time. I've only charged it a few times since I got it. It has similarly rubber membrane membrane buttons. You can actually like remove the faceplate and swap the buttons if you wanted like A on the right side, like switch configuration. The D-pad is good. Overall, really solid controller, and it has the hair trigger locks. So I think this one is really worth it if you don't need the like extra Steam stuff. And it works on PC, works on Switch. Absolutely zero complaints about this controller. If you want something a little more premium, I also think 8BitDo's Ultimate 2 or the Pro 3 are really nice as well, because they kind of have all that, but they have like extra customizable buttons if you really want them. Really nice micro switch D-pads nowadays. Also Hall Effect or TMR joysticks. Overall, really solid controllers. So that's kind of where my recommendations are, because they're cheaper and you get most of the way there. That said, do I regret buying this controller? Absolutely not. I think it's a good controller. I think it's nice to be able to have something that integrates nicely with Steam. Oh, the grip control is going again. So yeah, if you happen to get one, I hope you can. I know that scalpers are kind of going crazy with these right now, but if you try to get one, I hope you do, because it is a neat controller. But it's not the end of the world if you can't, honestly, because there are plenty of other third-party controllers that are just as good at this point. So I don't know, what are your thoughts? Do you think that I'm crazy, or do you kind of agree on this? Because I don't know, this is just my opinion. You may have your own, but yeah. And with that, I hope you have a great day, and if you want, feel free to do all the things YouTubers tell you to, like, comment, whatever, and have an excellent day. Take it easy.